Dalton Mercer stood in the pre-dawn darkness of his barn, coffee growing cold in his hand, watching the animal that had cost him everything. Redford lay on his side in the straw, ribs visible through dull red hide, breath coming in shallow gasps. The massive Hereford bull, once 2,200 pounds of prime breeding stock worth $85,000, now looked like something from a nightmare. Skeletal. Dying. At 42, Dalton had been running Mercer Ridge Ranch in Cape May County for 15 years since his father's death. 300 acres of pasture rolling down to the Atlantic marshlands, 50 head of cattle, a reputation built on honest dealing and quality stock. All of it mortgaged now. All of it riding on a bull that was dying despite everything Dalton had tried. Boss. Wes Flynn appeared in the barn doorway, his weathered 56-year-old face grim in the fluorescent light. Wes had been Mercer Ridge's foreman since before Dalton was born. "Dr. Hartley's here. Says you called her at 5 a.m. "I did." Dalton didn't take his eyes off Redford. "This is our last shot." Dr. Quinn Hartley walked into the barn carrying her medical bag, blonde hair pulled back, exhaustion evident in her 38-year-old face. She'd been Redford's veterinarian for 6 months, 6 months of failed treatments, unexplained symptoms, and mounting bills Dalton couldn't afford. "Dalton," Quinn's voice was professionally gentle, which somehow made it worse. "I got your message, but I've told you. I know what you told me." Dalton's voice was rough. "That he's got maybe a week, that we've tried everything, that I should put him down and salvage what I can." That's exactly what you said." Dalton finally turned to face her. 3 weeks ago, you said cut my losses. Everyone said that. Wes, my wife Julia, Grant Hollister from the next ranch over. Hell, even my 14-year-old son Connor asked me why I'm wasting money on a dying animal when we're behind on mortgage payments. Quinn set down her bag. "Then why did you call me at dawn?" "Because I need you to look at something. Something I found last night that doesn't make sense." Dalton led her to Redford's stall. Up close, the bull's condition was even more horrifying. His once powerful frame was wasted to bone and hide. His eyes were dull, unfocused. His breathing labored. "Dalton, I don't see how—" "Look at his left rear hoof." Dalton knelt in the straw. "Really, look." Quinn crouched down, pulling a penlight from her pocket. She examined the hoof for 30 seconds in silence. Then she went very still. "That's not right," she said quietly. "No, it's not." The hoof showed signs of severe chronic laminitis, inflammation of the tissue connecting the hoof wall to the underlying bone. But the pattern was wrong. The damage was too localized, too specific. "This looks almost intentional," Quinn said slowly. "That's what I thought." Dalton's jaw was clenched so tight it hurt. "I've been going over everything in my head for 6 months. How a perfectly healthy 3-year-old bull worth $85,000 suddenly starts declining. How every treatment fails. How the symptoms don't quite match any disease you can name." Quinn stood up, her expression shifting from exhaustion to sharp focus. "You think someone did this to him deliberately?" "I think someone's been poisoning my bull. Slowly, methodically, for months." Wes, who'd been listening from the barn doorway, swore under his breath. "Boss, that's a serious accusation. Who would—" "I don't know yet." Dalton's voice was ice. "But I'm going to find out, because if I'm right, someone didn't just try to kill Redford. They tried to destroy my ranch, my family, everything I've built." Quinn was already pulling equipment from her bag. "I need to run a full toxicology panel, blood, tissue samples, feed analysis. If someone's been administering poison, we might be able to find traces." "How long?" "The tests? 3 days minimum for preliminary results. Full analysis could take 2 weeks. Redford doesn't have 2 weeks." "I know." Quinn's eyes met his. "But if you're right about this, Dalton, we're not just treating a sick animal anymore. We're collecting evidence of a crime. And that means I need to do this properly, document everything, maintain chain of custody. Otherwise, any evidence we find won't hold up if you need to press charges." Dalton looked back at Redford. The bull's eyes were closed now, his breathing even more shallow than 5 minutes ago. 6 months ago, Redford had been the future of Mercer Ridge Ranch. Dalton had paid $85,000 he didn't really have, taking out a second mortgage, liquidating savings, gambling everything on elite breeding stock that could transform his operation from good to exceptional. Redford's bloodline was impeccable, his conformation perfect. His first season of breeding should have generated $200,000 in stud fees alone. Instead, 3 weeks after Redford arrived at Mercer Ridge, he'd started showing symptoms. Lethargy, loss of appetite, weight loss. Quinn had run every standard test: parasites, infection, metabolic disorders. Nothing explained it. The symptoms would improve slightly with treatment, then worsen again. A cycle of decline that made no medical sense. Dalton had spent $40,000 on veterinary care, consultations with specialists in Pennsylvania and Maryland, experimental treatments, alternative medicine. Nothing worked. Redford kept dying, slowly, while Dalton's bank account died with him. And now, if Dalton was right, it was because someone had been deliberately killing his bull the entire time. "Do the tests," Dalton said. "All of them. I don't care what it costs." "Dalton," Wes started. "I don't care." Dalton's voice was steel. "If someone did this, I'm going to prove it. And then I'm going to make sure they pay for every goddamn dollar they cost me. Every sleepless night. Every time I had to look my wife in the eye and tell her we might lose the ranch because I bet everything on a bull that's dying for no reason." Quinn was already drawing blood samples, her movements efficient and professional. "I'll need to take feed samples from wherever Redford's been eating, water from his trough, anything he's come in contact with." "Wes will help you." Dalton stood. "I need to make some calls." "Who are you calling at 5:30 in the morning?" "Everyone who's had access to this barn in the past 6 months. Every ranch hand, every delivery driver, every visitor." Dalton's eyes were hard. "Because if I'm right, one of them is responsible. And by the time I'm done, everyone's going to know exactly what they did." He walked out of the barn into the cold New Jersey dawn, leaving Quinn to collect her samples and Wes standing in uncomfortable silence. In his stall, Redford's breathing hitched, stuttered, then continued, barely. The bull everyone had given up on was still fighting, and now, finally, someone was going to fight for him. By 7 a.m., Dalton's kitchen was filled with people. Julia stood by the coffee pot, face drawn with worry. Connor sat at the table, confused and scared. Wes leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Dr. Quinn Hartley arrived carrying a cooler of samples. "Everyone's here," Dalton said, spreading 6 months of ranch logs across the table. "We need to figure out who's had access to Redford." Julia scanned the papers. "Dalton, this is dozens of people. Feed delivery drivers, the farrier, equipment repair, veterinary assistants, Grant Hollister from next door." "Then we narrow it down." Dalton's voice was steel. "Quinn, you said the hoof damage looked intentional. That means someone with knowledge, someone who knew exactly how to hurt him without it being obvious." Quinn nodded. "The laminitis pattern is too specific. This wasn't accidental contamination. Someone knew what they were doing." "Look at this," Julia said suddenly, running her finger down a column of dates. "Redford arrived February 24th, perfectly healthy. First symptoms appeared March 18th. Then he crashed hard on March 24th. "I remember that day," Wes said. "Thought we were going to lose him." "He recovered slightly, then crashed again April 7th, Julia continued. "Then April 21st, May 5th, May 19th, June 2nd. "Wait." Connor leaned forward, his 14-year-old mind catching something the adults missed. "That's every 2 weeks, exactly." The kitchen went silent. "What happens every 2 weeks on this ranch?" Dalton asked slowly. Wes straightened up. "Feed delivery. Bergen Agricultural Supply. Every other Tuesday." Julia grabbed her phone, pulling up her calendar. March 24th was a Tuesday. So was April 7th, April 21st. Every single date Redford crashed, it was within 24 hours of a feed delivery. Quinn's face went pale. "That's not coincidence. If someone's dosing the feed during delivery, who drives the truck?" Dalton demanded. "Same driver for the past year," Wes said, checking his records. "Tyler Bachman, early 20s, polite kid, always on time." Connor spoke quietly. "Dad, who owns Bergen Agricultural?" "What?" When Grandpa died, that company that wanted to buy our land, weren't they connected to an agricultural supply business? Julia's eyes widened. Randall Mitchell. He called for months after your father passed, pressuring you to sell. Said he wanted to develop the waterfront property into luxury condos. Dalton's blood ran cold. Wes, look up Bergen Agricultural. Who owns it? Wes pulled out his phone, fingers flying. 30 seconds later. Bergen Agricultural Supply is a subsidiary of Mitchell Properties LLC, which is owned by Coastal Development Group. CEO, Randall Mitchell, Atlantic City. Jesus Christ, Dalton whispered. I don't understand, Connor said. Why would this Mitchell guy poison Redford? Julia understood immediately. Because your father spent $85,000 he didn't have on Redford. Took out a second mortgage. When Redford got sick, we spent another $40,000 on vet bills. We're 3 months behind on payments. If the bank forecloses, Mitchell can buy the property at auction for pennies, Dalton finished. He doesn't need me to agree to sell if he can force me into bankruptcy. Quinn looked sick. Dalton, if Mitchell owns Bergen and their driver has access to your feed every 2 weeks, and Redford's crashes match their delivery schedule perfectly, then this was planned, systematic. They've been slowly killing my bull for 6 months to destroy this ranch. We need proof, Wes said. Real evidence, not just timing. The toxicology test will take 48 hours minimum, Quinn said. Maybe 3 days. Dalton stood abruptly. Next Bergen delivery is tomorrow, Tuesday. Right on schedule. Yeah, Wes confirmed. Then tomorrow we catch them. Photos, video, witnesses. We watch Tyler Bachman from the second he arrives until he leaves. If he's contaminating our feed, we document everything. Dalton, Julia's voice shook. If these people are willing to poison an animal to steal our land, what will they do when they realize we're investigating? The question hung in the air like poison itself. We're careful, Dalton said. We stay legal, document everything, but we don't back down. I want to help, Connor said. No, you'll be at school tomorrow. But Dad, not negotiable. Dalton's voice softened. I need you safe, son. If something goes wrong, I need to know you're far from here. Quinn packed her cooler. I'll rush the lab results. Call in favors. Maybe we'll have preliminary findings by Wednesday. Thank you. Be careful tomorrow, Quinn warned. If Mitchell is behind this, you're not dealing with simple poisoning. This is conspiracy, fraud, extortion. After everyone left, Dalton walked to the barn alone. Redford lay in his stall, each breath a struggle. In the pre-dawn darkness, Dalton knelt in the straw beside the dying bull. I know what they did to you now, he said quietly. And I swear to God, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to make them answer for every day you've suffered. Redford's eye opened slightly, focusing on Dalton with what might have been recognition. Or maybe just pain. Either way, Dalton wasn't giving up. Tomorrow, they'd catch them in the act. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tuesday morning arrived cold and gray, Atlantic fog rolling in from Cape May's marshes. Dalton had been awake since 4 a.m., running through the plan. By 8 a.m., everything was in position. Wes stood near the feed barn, pretending to repair a fence post. His smartphone was mounted on the post, camera recording everything. He wore an earpiece connected to a 3-way call. Julia sat in her car by the main gate, engine off, reviewing real estate listings on her laptop. Her phone was propped on the dashboard, camera aimed at the entrance road. Dalton worked in the equipment shed 50 yards away, door cracked open, his own phone recording. To anyone watching, it looked like a normal Tuesday morning, but every angle was covered. Bergen truck just turned onto County Road 47, Julia's voice came through the earpiece. 2 minutes out. Dalton's pulse quickened. Everyone ready? Ready, Wes confirmed. At 8:47 a.m., the white Bergen agricultural supply truck rumbled through the gates. Tyler Bachman was at the wheel, early 20s, sandy hair, the same polite kid who'd delivered feed for a year. The truck backed up to the feed barn's loading dock. Tyler hopped out, clipboard in hand, and knocked on the barn door. Wes walked over, keeping his body language casual. Morning, Tyler. Regular delivery. Yes, sir, Mr. Flynn. 4 pallets of cattle feed, same as always. Tyler's voice was friendly, nothing suspicious. Go ahead and unload. Tyler opened the truck's rear door and began unloading feed bags with a hand truck, 50-pound sacks stamped with Bergen Agricultural's logo. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious. Tyler made 4 trips, stacking pallets inside the barn. Professional, efficient. Too normal, Dalton thought. 10 minutes later, Tyler finished. He wiped sweat from his forehead, then did something that made Dalton's heart stop. Tyler looked around carefully, checking if anyone was watching, then pulled something from his jacket pocket. A small bottle, clear liquid. Dalton zoomed his phone camera in. Tyler walked to the water trough near the feed barn. The trough connected directly to Redford's stall. He glanced around once more, then unscrewed the bottle cap. Holy shit, Wes breathed over the earpiece. Is he? Keep recording, Dalton said quietly. Don't move. Tyler poured the bottle's contents into the water trough, all of it. Then he pocketed the empty bottle and walked back to Wes like nothing had happened. All set, Mr. Flynn. Just need your signature. Wes signed the clipboard with shaking hands, face carefully neutral. Thanks, Tyler. See you in 2 weeks. Yes, sir. Tyler climbed back into the truck and drove away, completely unaware 3 cameras had captured everything. The moment the truck cleared the gate, Dalton was moving. Julia, call Sheriff Anderson. Tell him we have video evidence of contamination. Wes, secure that trough. Don't let any animals near it. He was already dialing Quinn. It's Dalton. Tyler Bachman just contaminated Redford's water supply on camera. I need you here now with testing equipment. On my way. Don't touch anything. Sheriff Tom Anderson arrived 30 minutes later, a stocky man in his 50s who'd known the Mercer family for 20 years. He watched the 3 camera angles in silence, expression darkening. That's clear intent, Anderson said finally. He looks around, pulls out a concealed bottle, empties it into the water, then hides the evidence. This isn't accidental. Quinn arrived with her testing kit. She carefully extracted water samples from the trough, labeling each vial. I can do a field test for common poisons, she said. Full analysis needs the lab. 5 minutes later, she looked up, face grim. Arsenic. Low dose, but definitely present. Enough to make an animal chronically sick, but not enough to kill quickly or obviously. Arsenic, Dalton repeated, rage building. They've been poisoning my bull for 6 months. Slow poisoning, Quinn confirmed. Designed to look like natural disease. Without testing specifically for heavy metals, most vets would never find it. Anderson was already on his radio. I'm calling the county prosecutor and state police. This isn't just animal cruelty. This is conspiracy, fraud. I want Tyler Bachman arrested, Dalton said. He will be. But Dalton, Anderson's voice was serious. Bachman's just the delivery guy. If Mitchell ordered this, we need to prove it. That means investigation, warrants, building a case. Redford doesn't have time for that. I know. Anderson's face was sympathetic. But if we move too fast, Mitchell's lawyers get everything thrown out. We do this right. What about Redford? Julia asked. Can you treat him now? Quinn looked uncertain. Arsenic chelation therapy can remove heavy metals, but after 6 months of exposure, the damage might be permanent. Do whatever you can, Dalton said. Wes appeared holding an evidence bag with the empty bottle Tyler had tossed from his truck window. This has a label, partially torn but readable. He held it up. Arsenic trioxide, Coastal Ag Solutions. Coastal Ag Solutions, Anderson read. Another Mitchell subsidiary. He's using his own products. Anderson's radio crackled. Sheriff, this is Deputy Martinez. We've got Tyler Bachman pulled over on Route 9. What do you want us to do? Anderson smiled grimly. Arrest him. Charges, animal cruelty, criminal trespass, conspiracy to commit fraud. Dalton listened with fierce satisfaction. They'd caught them. Now came justice. Tyler Bachman sat in the Cape May County Sheriff's interrogation room, looking like a scared kid. His hands were cuffed to the table, sandy hair disheveled, face pale under fluorescent lights. Sheriff Anderson sat across from him. Dalton watched through one-way glass, Julia beside him. We have you on 3 camera angles, Anderson said calmly, pouring arsenic trioxide into the Mercer Ranch water trough. Want to tell me what you were doing? Tyler's leg bounced nervously. I want a lawyer. That's your right. But Tyler, you're looking at felony charges. Animal cruelty carries 5 years. Conspiracy to commit fraud, another 10. You'll be 35 when you get out. Tyler's face crumbled. I didn't want to do it, I swear. Then why? Because Mr. Mitchell said he'd fire me if I didn't. And my mom. Tyler's voice broke. My mom's got stage 3 cancer. Treatments cost $8,000 a month. Bergen provides my health insurance. If I lose my job, she loses coverage. She dies. Dalton felt recognition. Tyler wasn't evil. He was desperate. Randall Mitchell told you to poison Redford? Not directly. His assistant, Dennis Kowalski, called 6 months ago. Said Mr. Mitchell needed a special favor. Said if the ranch went bankrupt, everybody would benefit, including me. How much did he pay you? $500 every 2 weeks. Cash. Tyler's voice was hollow. $1,000 a month to pour poison into a water trough. Where did you get the arsenic? Kowalski gave it to me. Pre-measured doses. Said it was calibrated to make the bull sick but not kill it quickly. Had to look natural. Did Mitchell ever speak to you directly? Once. 3 months ago at the Bergen warehouse. Asked how the Mercer situation was progressing. When I said the bull was worse, he smiled, said good work, and gave me a bonus. Extra $1,000. Dalton's hands clenched into fists. Tyler, if you cooperate, testify against Mitchell and Kowalski, the prosecutor might offer a deal. Reduce charges, maybe probation, but you have to tell us everything. Hope flickered in Tyler's face. Everything? Everything. Dates, times, recordings, other people involved. I have text messages from Kowalski telling me when to dose the water, how much. He used burner phones, but I saved the numbers. For the next hour, Tyler talked. He described how they recruited him, how Mitchell personally approved the operation, how they targeted Mercer Ridge because Dalton refused to sell and the waterfront was worth millions. Mitchell said Dalton Mercer was an obstacle to progress, Tyler recalled. Said small farms were dying anyway, and he was just accelerating the inevitable. It's criminal conspiracy and fraud, Anderson said flatly. You understand that now? Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I know sorry doesn't fix it, but I am. Later, outside the room, Dalton confronted Anderson. What happens now? Tyler's cooperating. We'll use his testimony and texts to get warrants for Mitchell and Kowalski. State police are coordinating with prosecutors. How long until arrests? 48 hours, maybe less. Julia squeezed Dalton's arm. We did it. Quinn appeared in the hallway. Dalton, I need you at the ranch. Now. It's Redford. Dalton's heart stopped. What happened? Just come. They drove back in silence, Dalton fearing the worst. But when they reached the barn, Dalton stopped in his tracks. Redford was standing. Not just standing steadily, head up, eyes clear for the first time in 6 months. The skeletal frame remained, but something fundamental had changed. He was fighting back. I started chelation therapy 4 hours ago, Quinn said, voice filled with hope. Binding the arsenic and flushing it out. I didn't expect results this fast, but he's responding, Dalton finished. The poison was killing him, but hadn't destroyed him. Not completely. Now that it's being removed, Quinn smiled. I think he's going to make it. Dalton walked into the stall slowly. Redford turned his massive head, looking at him with recognition. You tough bastard, Dalton said softly, touching Redford's neck. You fought them for 6 months, never gave up. Now we're going to finish what you started. Julia came beside him, tears streaming. He's going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. Dalton pulled her close, watching the bull that had cost him everything and might now save everything. Yeah, he said. We are. 48 hours later, Randall Mitchell was arrested at his Atlantic City office. State police led him out in handcuffs while news cameras captured everything. Dennis Kowalski was arrested simultaneously at his home in Margate. The charges were extensive: conspiracy to commit fraud, organized crime activity, animal cruelty, extortion, and racketeering. The prosecutor announced it was the largest agricultural fraud case in New Jersey history. Dalton watched the news coverage from Redford's stall, the bull standing beside him, stronger every day. Quinn's chelation therapy was working. Redford had gained 30 pounds in a week. His eyes were bright, alert. The damage wasn't fully healed, but he was fighting back. Mitchell's lawyer is already trying to make a deal, Sheriff Anderson told Dalton over the phone. But the prosecutor isn't budging. Too much evidence. Tyler's testimony, the text messages, the arsenic bottles traced directly to Mitchell's companies. It's airtight. Good, Dalton said. There's more. 3 other ranchers in Cape May County have come forward. They all experienced mysterious livestock illnesses after refusing to sell to Mitchell. We're investigating those cases now. This might be bigger than just you. Dalton felt cold satisfaction. Mitchell's empire was collapsing. 6 weeks later, Dalton stood in Cape May County Superior Court as Judge Rachel Morrison delivered her ruling. Mr. Mitchell, this court finds you guilty on all counts. Your systematic poisoning of livestock to force families into bankruptcy represents the worst kind of corporate greed. You weaponized your business to destroy honest people. Mitchell stood rigid, his expensive suit suddenly looking like a costume. I sentence you to 18 years in state prison. Additionally, you will pay $2.3 million in restitution to affected ranchers, plus punitive damages. Your business assets will be seized to satisfy these judgments. Dalton watched Mitchell's face crumble. 18 years. The man who'd tried to steal everything would lose everything instead. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Dalton. Mr. Mercer, how does it feel to get justice? It feels like I can finally breathe, Dalton said honestly. But this was never just about me. Mitchell targeted multiple families. We all fought back together. What about Redford? How is he? Dalton smiled, his first real smile in months. Come to the ranch. I'll show you. 2 hours later, a crowd gathered at Mercer Ridge Ranch. Reporters, neighbors, other ranchers Mitchell had targeted, all watching as Redford walked out of the barn. The transformation was stunning. In 6 weeks, Redford had gained 400 pounds. His coat gleamed red in the afternoon sun. His massive frame moved with power and grace. He looked like what he was supposed to be, an elite breeding bull worth every penny of $85,000. Ladies and gentlemen, Dalton said, arm around Julia, Connor beside him. This is Redford. 6 months ago, someone tried to kill him to destroy my family. They failed. Redford survived. My family survived. And today, justice was served. Wes appeared leading a group of heifers. Boss, if Redford's feeling up to it, we've got some ladies who'd like to meet him. Dalton laughed, really laughed. I think Redford's ready to get back to work. As Redford was led to the breeding pasture, Quinn appeared at Dalton's side. His recovery is remarkable. Medically, he should be dead. But his will to survive was stronger than the poison. Sounds familiar, Julia said, squeezing Dalton's hand. Connor looked up at his father. Dad, I learned something from this. What's that? That doing the right thing is hard, but giving up is harder. Dalton pulled his son close. That's exactly right. That evening, Dalton stood at Redford's pasture fence, watching the bull graze peacefully under Cape May's sunset. The nightmare was over. The ranch was saved. Mitchell was in prison. Justice had been served. But more than that, they'd proven something important. That corruption could be exposed. That the powerful could be held accountable. That family farms could fight back and win. Redford lifted his massive head, looking directly at Dalton as if understanding everything they'd been through together. We did it, Dalton said quietly. You and me. We didn't give up. Behind him, Julia called from the house. Dalton, dinner's ready. He turned toward home, toward family, toward the ranch they'd saved, toward the future they'd fought for. Redford returned to grazing, healthy and strong, the bull everyone had given up on who'd survived to prove them all wrong. Sometimes the fight is worth it. Sometimes justice actually wins. And sometimes the sick bull everyone wrote off becomes the symbol of everything worth protecting.